photosynthesis. So here the photosynthesis is basically the Greek word which simply means it is a Greek word which means physico, which means physico. Now here at the photo and synthesis is divided into two parts. Photo here word means light. His photo means light, while synthesis means manufacturing. Synthesis means manufacturing anything. Manufacturing. So the photosynthesis is basically the something is synthesized. कोई चीज manufacture हो रही है, something is synthesized in the presence of light. Something is synthesized in the presence of light. Okay. So now here we have the equation of photosynthesis, that is basically what? That is CO2 plus oxygen will form C6H12O6 glucose plus, you can say, sorry, CO2 plus H2O. The H2O. Carbon dioxide plus water will form glucose plus oxygen. Okay, this is the equation of photosynthesis. Now here, what thing is required? Here, sunlight is required. Here, sunlight is being required. You can see these are basically what? These are raw materials, or we can say these are reactants. Raw materials which we are taking, like carbon dioxide we are taking from environment, however water is naturally present. So these are raw material. This carbon is turned into C6H12. However, this oxygen goes here in the oxygen. So this is basically photosynthesis is basically the redox reaction. Here you can see carbon dioxide has been here oxidized, sorry, reduced. Here oxygen is oxidized. So this process is known as redox reaction. So we can say photosynthesis is redox reaction. Is redox reaction. Fine. Now photosynthesis is divided into two parts. One is photochemical phase, however another is biochemical phase. Okay. It is divided into two parts. One is change. Yep. Photosynthesis. It is divided into two parts. One is photochemical phase. Photochemical phase. However, another we have biochemical phase. Another is biochemical phase. One is photochemical phase, however, another is biochemical phase. So in the photochemical phase, what is chemical energy will form? Here we can say ATP and NADPH. These are the chemical energies which are being formed in the presence of sunlight. Chemical energy will form in photochemical phase. Those are ATP and NADPH. When these both chemical energies will take place. After that, if I do talk about the biochemical phase, so here for suppose here we have, yep, here we have the root system, here we have the roots. Fine, here these are the roots, and here we have one leaf. Now in the biochemical whole process will take place in the leaf. So from here, from the roots, you can see here the oxygen move with the help of xylem. As in the roots, we have the water is present. So with the help of xylem, the water will move up, and the CO2 will come from environment plus water will come from the roots. When they both will react together, they will form the glucose plus oxygen. They will form the glucose molecule plus oxygen. So this oxygen is basically gone in the form of sucrose, in the form of food sucrose, by the help of phloem to again to the roots. Okay, so now here biochemical phase, we can say here the glucose biomolecule is formed, here the glucose is formed. So this means this is dark reaction, this phase is dark reaction. Dark reaction, fine. So here glucose in the plants, glucose is stored in the form of, this glucose is stored in the form of starch in plants. Glucose is stored in the form of starch. However, if I do talk about the animals, so in animals, glucose is stored in the form of glycogen. It is stored in the form of glycogen. So these both are the photochemical phase in which the chemical ATP energy is formed. However, in the biochemical phase, with the help of water environment, the glucose is formed. I hope these both phases are clear to you. Now here we have role of light in photosynthesis. Like in the photosynthesis, most of the role is played by the pigments. Okay, I am going to explain role of the light. Fine, here I am going to explain about the role of light. Okay, so here we have basically what? Here we have the role of light, the main thing which play main role, that are pigments. Like plant absorb the small portion of electromagnetic spectrum which is known as visible spectrum. Plants absorb small portion of electromagnetic spectrum which is known as visible spectrum from the sunlight. Visible spectrum, right? Now pigments. Pigments are the substance which absorb the particular wavelength of light. Okay, now we have multiple pigments. So every pigments have their own wavelength. So pigments are basically the substance which absorb the different wavelength, particular wavelength, you can say pigments. Substance absorb particular wavelength. Okay. After that, these pigments are present. So these pigments are basically organized in photosystem, or we can say pigment system, organized in photosystem and pigment system and pigment system. Fine. So here we have two type of photosystems that are present in thylakoid membrane. In the next video, we're gonna talk about these pigments, two type of pigments. I hope till that it is damn clear to you guys. So bye bye.